Hi again, everybody. My name is Greg Anderson, and this is the Good Timekeeping Show with Greg Anderson. Here's a little follow-up to a video I made earlier this month where I was playing around with these two watches here, and I basically swapped the watch band and bracelet from this one and this one. So now this one has the bracelet that used to be here, and this one has the watch band that came with this watch. So the whole point of doing that was just to prove that that was interchangeable. So if I had any kind of bracelet or watch band that would fit on one of these GWM5610 watches, I could easily trade that with this one. This is the GW6900. So once I knew that, I decided to play around. So I realized, if I wanted to buy this bracelet from Casio, it would cost me, well, one of the parts suppliers, it was almost $120 just for the bracelet if I wanted to, just kind of start replacing these resin bracelets on my G-Shock squares, right? But then there was this alternative, which was a Chinese copy, if you will, third-party copy of this. It looks about the same, but it's a different bracelet. And those are, you can get them for less than $20 from AliExpress or through eBay, or, there are ways to get those. They're all basically the same Chinese copy. So for $100 less, should I try out the Chinese copy? So, of course, I decided to go ahead and try it. So here you go. This is your basic GWM5610 watch. It's kind of a throwback to the original G-Shock watch from 1983. That's why it has the red stripe here on the face. Some people don't like the red stripe, but it's available in different color combinations as well, including this is kind of a premium Japanese version without a lot of bright colors on the face. So there are different variations you can get that have the same basic functions and features. And I decided to go ahead and take a chance on the Chinese version of this bracelet, the copy, and just see how it goes. So it's a nice looking watch this way. For the most part, it looks just like the other official Casio version, except down here on the Casio version, it says G-Shock there on the clasp, whereas this one doesn't say anything on the clasp. Okay, different materials that it's made out of. This one here, I'll just open this up and show you. In between the links, there are these little spring bars. So with a simple spring bar tool, it's easy to take those out so that you can remove links and change the basic size of the watch band. Whereas this one here, this Chinese version doesn't have the spring bars. Instead, as you can see there, it just has these pins that you can push through, and there's a little arrow indicating which direction that those are supposed to come out. And if you push those pins out, then you'll be able to resize, take some links out there. So also right here, these shiny pieces in between the links, these are made of plastic on the Chinese copy. And on these, I believe these are painted metal. So that's not bad. There's also a newer version of this bracelet from Casio, and this comes with the Bluetooth version of the G-Shock Square. Okay, so this bracelet, all the pieces are plastic. You can see the design is a little bit different here, compared to this kind of almost a diamond plate sort of a texture there, whereas this is more of a match to what's on the bezel with these little indentations along the sides. But this one here, again, this is still one of the official Casio versions of the bracelet. And this one also, just like the other, has the spring bars that you can remove if you want to resize, remove links from the watch bracelet. So again, just to review, as you're looking at these right here, authentic Casio products on the left, the middle, and this one on the right is the Chinese copy of the Casio design. So, at a glance, they look pretty much the same. So you say, well, why are these $100 more than that one? And well, I think it's just kind of quality workmanship. Maybe the fact that it has all those little spring bars in the Casio version and this one doesn't. People have also complained that this one is very lightweight. Maybe it feels cheap and they think it's flimsy and they're afraid to even use it. I don't know. So this one's kind of controversial, but I thought it would be a good service for you watching my videos, and also kind of fun for myself to go ahead and try this out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wear this watch a lot with this Chinese copy of the Casio bracelet and see how it stands up. And if it's too flimsy and if it breaks, I'll let you know. If after weeks and months it seems to be doing okay, I will also let you know. Okay, so for a minor investment, I guess worst case is that this would break, and it would break at a time when the watch would fall off your wrist and go into the lake or the river or onto the highway and get destroyed. You could lose your watch. That would be worst case scenario. I'm not going to probably be in those situations. So if this does show signs of breaking, an absolute failure to make the watch stick to my wrist, then I'll let you know. But I don't think there's too much danger here. And it has a little bit of play if I do this, and it does actually feel very lightweight. But here's the official Casio one that everybody loves, rightly so, and it has some play as well. So I don't think the play is the thing. Hey, wasn't that Shakespeare? But maybe this does feel more sturdy, and maybe in the long run will hold up better. One thing I do fear about this though is that since these pieces are metal, this clasp, and also these pieces here are metal, I think that with normal use, if I'm not too careful, I could mar the finish on those, and you would see underneath the black paint, maybe just some silver, just bare metal, and that might not look great. So I may not feel inclined to abuse this one very much. Maybe I'll save this for special occasions. But for this one here, it's cheap enough, and it's made of all plastic. Maybe I won't be too afraid to use this in places and situations where it could easily get scratched or somehow damaged in any way. It's cheap. It's not a big hardship if something were to happen to this. I mean, the worst that could happen would be I would have to go back to using the original resin bracelet that came with it. Oh, boo-hoo, right? If this is the one that came with it. And, I can always go back to that. Some people have complained as they get in here to remove the watch band or the bracelet with their spring bar tool, that with some of these Casio G-Shock watches, it's a very tight fit in there, and it's kind of a tricky thing to get that in and out. And I'll admit that it's a little bit trickier than some of my other watches, but with a little bit of patience, it's not too bad. So I'm not going to say that, you never want to have to change a watch band or a bracelet on one of these G-Shocks. It's terrible. I don't think it's terrible. Just be patient. And it always helps, of course, if you can have, the right tools to do the job. Like this is a nice dedicated spring bar tool. Some people would just use like a small jeweler's screwdriver like this. And that one is going to be more difficult and kind of frustrating. If you think you're going to do it a lot, you can get these spring bar tools for very cheap. Look on eBay and Amazon and the regular places. These little tools can be very affordable, and you might as well invest in some things like this if you think you're going to be doing this sort of thing often. I just got this one, which has interchangeable tips, so smaller and larger tips on the spring bar. Have some fun with those. Now, I want to talk about this Chinese copy of the Casio design because, I just decided to go for it, and here's a second one. I bought a second one so I could really play. Okay, so it comes in this, at least this one did, came in this thick plastic wrapper. Almost feels like the kind of plastic, sometimes they wrap bacon in this kind of stuff if you see it in the refrigerated section of the store. So we're going to tear this open, and just kind of the nice thick plastic. And if I just pull this apart, here comes the bracelet. Very lightweight, but if I'm not too rough with it, I think it'll last. This actually came with 3 little spring bars to go with it in case I lose one. And then I got this from an eBay seller, and this person was kind enough to not only include the 3 that came with it, but he also gave me a little bag of what he called banana pins, and it's just looks like the regular spring bars, but they're just kind of bent a little bit. So maybe for some people, again, getting in there with their spring bar tool and trying to make these fit in that tight location of the watch case, maybe for some people to have one that's a little bit of a rounded shape is easier. I found that I didn't need to use these when I've worked with this bracelet so far. But that was nice of the seller to include banana pins for me just in case I needed. And I'll put these in my supply of extra watch parts and see how they become handy maybe later on. This same eBay seller enclosed this for me as well. A nice little spring bar tool, what it has. And I like the little rubber caps on the end. So this is kind of a pointed end and just a point, whereas this one has, you know, the little V-shaped hook shape there for the spring bar. So that's a handy little tool that this guy gave to me, and I appreciated that. I wasn't really expecting that. Maybe it was in the description, but we'll see. So here you can see what I did with this one that I've already placed on this watch. I did remove one link from one side of it, so this side here. So I'm going to do that, just kind of prepare this watch bracelet by removing a link, and I'll show you how that's done. On the one hand, it seems like it was a little too easy to remove a link. But here's what I do. I take the pointed end of this tool here, and I can find here along the sides where the pins are attached. And all I have to do is place this into one of the holes and just gently push up. And you see how easily the pin came out. Some people would be a little bit afraid. Oh, it comes out too easily. And that's why these cheap watch bracelets aren't any good. Well, I don't know about that. In order to take out one link, you have to remove the same pin from two links that are next to each other. So let me just do that real quickly. And I'll demonstrate that with, again, another very inexpensive tool that I got just off the internet. This is really simple. It's got this thing you twist here, and see there's a little pin that comes out. So what you do is you take the end of that pin there, and you line it up with one of those holes where you want the watch bracelet pin to come out. Okay, so if I line that up, and I've got a little place, you know, to hold it there for me. Now that that is lined up, all I do is give this a gentle twist, and it's going to gently push that pin out, as you saw right there. So with some watch bands, you really need a tool like this because sometimes they're in there, they're, you know, pretty hard to push through. But with this one, kind of the inexpensive soft plastic, it was pretty easy to push that out. So again, I can do it with the special little blue tool that holds it in place, or I can just push with this here. And there they go. So now if I got two of those pins out, I'm just going to pull those out and make sure I don't let them roll away. With two of them out, then that link is loose, and then I just take the two pieces I want to reconnect and just push that pin right back through the hole all the way through to where it matches up with the other side. And then I can take, you know, something like the flat end of a spring bar tool and just push that down gently so that the pin is flush with either side here and doesn't necessarily poke out at all. And that's done there. Now I want to save this link just in case I need it for future reference. So I'm going to put this pin right through here and just let it sit there. And then I'm going to stick these in like a, one of these tiny plastic bags or something like that and put a label on it so that I know if I ever want to put that link back in, this is the one that goes with that bracelet. There's also some fine tuning you can do with the adjustment here on the side of the clasp. Now the clasp just opens up very much like the Casio version does. But see down in here, then there's just a little spring bar to hold that in and some micro adjustments. I can move this to one of the two other sets of holes on either side. And again, this is something I can simply do with the spring bar tool they gave me, use the pointed end. And if I just push that there, now the spring bar has released. And I'm going to leave that off for a moment until I get this whole thing installed on a watch. Now I kind of feel guilty because I took this bracelet off of this watch, right? So I think that, this watch deserves a fancier bracelet than one that I took off just a standard little resin watch band there. So maybe I'll have to put this back on. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Chinese copy and I'm going to install it on this GW6900 watch. And I'm going to use this for a while and see how it holds up. So I'm going to have the Chinese copy on both of these watches, use them regularly, and report back to you if I have any interesting results of how well they hold up. Okay, so some people will say it's really, really a struggle to get this to fit in there and also to position the spring bar in place It's just such a tight fit. And I will admit it takes a little bit of fiddling and patience, and maybe I won't show you the whole thing on camera because I might need to use some different angles so that I can see better than you can see through the camera. But I'll get this done and show you what it looks like in just a second. Now this is a side-by-side comparison showing you the shape of the ends of the watch bracelet. This is the Chinese version. This is the Casio version, and you can see how well they line up there, and they look like they are the same shape and size, and so they're going to fit pretty well, interchangeable as far as that. I did not have any trouble making the Chinese copy fit in my genuine Casio watch. So that's, I think you can see right there. Also, let me just compare now the original resin watch band that came with it. The shape of the end there against this over here again is the Chinese version, the third-party version, and this is the part that went in from the factory from Casio. So yeah, pretty good fit there as far as that size goes. Okay, so the last step here would be to take the two parts of this bracelet and put them together. So I think I figured out that I like the fit of this if it goes in to the innermost, tightest fitting as far as this micro adjustment goes. And again, just a little something you can do with whatever tool you're most comfortable with. I like the very thin end of this screwdriver to do this part. All right, I did it off camera, but you see how that now interesting here when it's in that innermost tightest fitting there. There's not a lot of play on this part here. There's a little bit, but maybe not as much as I want. So in theory, since I already sized one of these bracelets to another watch, I should just be able to put this on and it'll fit me. It's a little loose. I don't know. Maybe I'll play with it. I could take out another link still and still play with that. So now, okay, here I go. These two watches, each with the Chinese third-party version of the bracelet, and I'm going to use these and see how well they hold up. It's beater watch time, okay? Now, the whole concept of a beater watch, maybe you've heard that term before, is to say, well, this is a watch that I don't really care if it gets a little bit banged up when I'm using it for just whatever I want to do. So if I have a really expensive or rare or somehow valuable watch, I might avoid wearing that watch if I'm going to do things that, would possibly scratch or otherwise damage your watch. With a beater watch, either the watch is so tough that you don't worry about it that much getting damaged, or the watch is so inexpensive that you also don't worry about whether or not it gets damaged. So if it's not super valuable or rare, it could be a beater watch. This is almost like you might be a redneck. So this right here is probably what I would consider a beater watch for me. Years ago, I replaced the watch band with this silicone band, but this is not a G-Shock, but it is one of the larger and better Casios from the 1990s. And so it used to have some writing here, and that's just kind of rubbed off over the years. It's got a few scratches, but it's in good shape, keeps good time, still works great. So this is kind of my go-to beater watch, because if something happens to it, I'm not going to be too upset. I think I can even still find some of these in new condition if I really needed to. But what if you want a kind of a premium beater watch, okay? So even though it's still not super rare, super expensive, and you're not that scared of breaking it or somehow damaging it or losing it, you still get a few premium features on this, both of these. This has tough solar, this one as well, so you don't have to worry about changing the battery. They're going to charge themselves with exposure to everyday lighting conditions, and each of these also has multiband 6 from Casio, so they will set themselves automatically to the correct time if they can receive that information from any one of 6 transmitters around the world. And so sets itself, charges itself. It's kind of a premium watch, but still, for some folks, the budget for these would be so low that these would still be beater watches. Now we're talking, there are people who would spend many hundreds of dollars for just one watch, maybe thousands of dollars for one watch, and even those people who you'd think would be a little too snobbish to ever mess with a G-Shock for under $100, they would still say you ought to have one in your collection just because it's a good watch, it's a tough watch, and it's a great beater watch, so you don't have to wear your super expensive Rolex when you're rock climbing, for example. You can wear one of these. You can get a G-Shock Square. You go down to your local Walmart store, and probably for $40 or less, you get one that looks an awful lot like this, that comes with the standard resin band. And it would not have the automatic power charging with tough solar. It would not have the automatic setting itself to the right time with multi-band 6. But many of the other functions and features that you would prefer on a G-Shock watch, the toughness, the water resistance, the reliability, you could get all those things for just $40 or so. But if you want to go premium beater, maybe double your budget a little bit and get one of these. And if you want to go even more premium beater, spend another, I don't know, somewhere around $15 or $20, depending on where you shop, and get one of these, little Chinese copies of the Casio watch bracelet and see how that stands up. So like I said, I'm going to try this out. I'm going to see how it holds up for the next few weeks and months. If it fails quickly, I will make another video quickly. If it does pretty well, it could take me a few months to finally give you an honest evaluation of how these things hold up over time. But as I've said before, the worst that could happen would be I just have to go back to the standard resin watch band that came with it. And that doesn't seem like such a bad deal. So, all right, well, stay tuned, and I hope you will join me again soon for another episode of The Good Timekeeping Show.